So, here's the thing. All right. In the last 2 years, I was accused of strangulation that I didn't do. And the interesting thing about it was that now here's the thing. Here's where I really love the judge, because the judge protected my ass in this way. And I don't know exactly what all to do with it, but my sister had a complaint about some sort of wedgies and not being able to wear underwear, and it bothered her around her old man. So it makes me wonder, if he's got some issues that need to be attended to or not. But then she got mad and started assaulting me, and she works as a bus driver. So I don't really know if that's a very wise job choice for her, if she's going to assault people for laughing at her for not understanding her supposed PTSD. But what ended up happening is, as I'm yelling and telling her to go away and leave me alone, it opened the door, after she was already assaulting me, for her husband then to fear for his life and begin assaulting me too. And so I pled guilty to disorderly conduct for yelling at them to go the fuck away and leave me alone. I don't understand your problem, and laughing at them. So in Clark County, beware, protect yourself, because now people can assault you, call the cops first, and claim that you did something wrong, and then you're in trouble for their wrongdoing. So it's very corrupt. It's super corrupt. It goes against the Holy Bible. And here's the reason why I'm bringing this up. I bleed red, white, and blue. I am an American through and through. Oh, there, you can't see me, but there's my flag. So I gotta move the camera a little bit. This camera can't see the flag, but in our country, unlike most, we are non-denominationally religious, which means you can believe pretty much anything that you want to, if you have a higher power, and if your higher power is science, or you don't have a higher power, whatever. But one of the things about the "in God we trust" factor, and again, that is open to many interpretations, and I do believe America was beginning to try and enlighten people as to a different sexual orientation of who God may truly be than what we were classically used to during the time of King James and so forth, and various other male monarch rulers, starting all the way back in historic Mediterranean 800 BC and farther. So we are still on a corrective course on a lot of things, but we could get to that at another time. But see, the problem with this is then I was then unfairly categorized and hate crime, because she was before this happened, a 911 operator that was fired for being too aggressive with police officers, and now is a bus driver. I don't really understand this. It doesn't seem to make sense, but God in his own due time will figure things out. So it's very corrupt, and I was arrested. And here's the funny thing: our county is brewing and breeding a sickness, and they're accepting of it. And what's happening is they've opened the doors to drugs, but no quality control. They don't care who's bringing them over. Excuse me, because it's not their problem, right? Well, that's a big problem, because what's happened is it's created an increase of something that's not very good. But we'll get to that later. So I'm thrown in jail with a bunch of drug addicts, high as fuck, abused by the guards. Now, I tried filing a report. I have all this paperwork. It's all with the feds, you guys, okay? And all the attempts to cover it all up. I have all the original paperwork. I haven't given you guys the original paperwork because you're so corrupt. You are so very corrupt that you won't take the hit. And it's a hit that needs to be taken by me or somebody else. And so, there's so much corruption in this that I'm so hurt, because it's taught me that these things are acceptable in our town. And they're not. They're really not. We should not be covering up and getting away with things like this, because it's not corrective processing. And I want to bring it to City Hall when I figure out how to do it, but I'm going to need some help, because I'm mentally scarred very badly and very hurt in ways that I shouldn't have been hurt by my own townspeople. And these are people I have to live among. And some of them I know who they are, and some of them I don't. And I still have to live among them. And they've taught me some very horrible, horrible things. Oh, here we go. Gotta fix Facebook real quick. Huh? This stupid thing. It's directly connected. I need a new computer. I can't go on Facebook because my computer sucks. The computer sucks so bad. So what I'm going to do, let me go live with that video. So, I'm back on Facebook and I'm live without video, but that's okay because I'll post the Instagram or the YouTube, one of the two. But back to what I'm talking about is so like instead of taking the hit and doing things right and correctively and like holding accountability, you know, I'm actually, because of what happened to me in Clark County Jail. Okay, now this is super weird. Okay, but because of what happened to me in Clark County Jail, I am 100% a proponent for 24-hour video surveillancing that is open to the public, so that the public, like the general Clark County citizens, have an idea of what our corrective processing in our jail is like. Not just in our courtroom, but in our jail. So that we, as a public, know what's going on to our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, our nieces, our nephews, our uncles, our aunts, our grandfathers, our fathers, you know, because there's a lot of really horrible shit that goes on down there. And my case, again, like I said, it's been covered up, brushed over, covered up, and I mean, I can literally show you all the paperwork, and I need help from somebody because this doesn't need, my story doesn't need to go unknown and unseen and unaccounted for. But there was just recently another guy in Clark County Jail that was almost strangled to death by an officer. He was beat down and almost strangled by an officer inside the jail. Now it's like, and then pulled out, dragged out by a leash, essentially. Okay, and you can Google this stuff, right? And these are all means of corrective processing. And then we get released back out on the streets. Now I'm a community custody inmate, okay? And we get released out on the streets being treated this way. Now granted, there are some bad guys out there. Yes, there are some absolute bad guys out there. But if you treat everybody the same, all right, the supposed equality, you're treating us all to a very horrible Guantanamo Bay-esque like treatment. I had a guy come up from California who'd been in Lompoc, the federal prison, okay? And he told me that Clark County was worse than any facility he's ever been in. Clark County, Vancouver, Washington location. This is pretty bad, okay? Now, over the years, as a country, we've taken the Holy Bible out of places because it's too religious. Well, honestly, if you really read the Holy Bible, it's not any one religious base. There's no one religious base. If you read it as a whole book, there's no one religious base that is better than the other. Christianity came after Christ died. Jews were there before Christ died. Romans were there. A pantheon of religious beliefs is there. Okay? But among all of this, among all the power and control in the Bible, among all the dick swaying, perverted, fucked up shit, there are some serious truths in the Bible. And I want to read one from you from Deuteronomy. And it's Deuteronomy Judges. Okay? Now, I want you to really contemplate and consider thinking what I'm about to tell you. Because this definitely shows how citizens evolve amongst their city. And if our police and our judges and our DAs and the whole legal system, okay, as a whole, uses these corrupt practices and deems it okay, you get what you eat and what you serve, right? So if you're serving the community horrible, corrupt practices, you're going to get an increase in mental health issues because you're getting away with what we're not allowed to get away with. Okay? And it harms us tenfold. And every time one of the thousands of cases where this happens gets caught, it causes us a lot of mental trauma and damage. A lot. Because when I read this article about this guy who got slammed to the ground and strangled, I remembered when the Clark County Sheriff kicked me in the face and threw me to the ground because I asked him not to scream at my baby daughter's mom. Okay? Now here, this is what the Deuteronomy says, okay? It's Deuteronomy 16:18. This is where we're going to start. Judges. Appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes and every town. Now, on a global scale like we are these days, we would consider it cities, counties, townships, metropolitan areas, or otherwise. It still fits, right? It says, the Lord your God, or Lucifer, here's a trigger warning, okay? Because Lord God is not God. I'm telling you this. We can go to another depths of reading together and I will prove this to you. But for this instance, we're going to read it this way. For Lucifer, your God, is given you, and they shall judge the people fairly. Now this is a very Luciferian thing, okay? This is very spot on for Lucifer. He wants you to deal and judge fairly, okay? He doesn't want you to be corrupt, right? So this is definitely someone of that authority to tell you, do not do this. Here's why. And Lucifer would never lie to you about something like that. Okay? It says, do not pervert justice or show partiality. For instance, in my own case, my sister Casey, Fuller Doty, she never had the right to be a Fuller. My father never adopted her. So she did not have the right to carry my father's name. But Casey Fuller Doty, who's now changed her name and is married, assaulted me and openly admitted to the police to assaulting me first. And the police, with their haterade and all of the ways that they are doing things, I was targeted as being a bad guy because they said so. There was no factual proof of what their accusation was. And if the DA or the ADA really felt that this was a solid case and that their accusations were true, he would not have dropped down from an assault to strangulation of a blue liner to disorderly conduct of yelling at them to go away and leave me alone. I'm a disabled person. You start attacking me, I'm going to tell you to go the fuck away. I'm going to tell you to leave me be. I'm going to laugh at you because I don't understand your bullshit. But there was no equal impartiality shown. I have mental health issues. I have physical, mechanical issues. I could never have pulled off a one-arm strangulation maneuver. My doctors will all tell you this. But I didn't have the money to afford them. And I couldn't force these people to take time out of their jobs to do this with my health condition the way it was. So yes, I agreed that it was disorderly for me to have to scream and yell at them. to go away, to leave me alone. I don't understand it. Get out of my backyard. Like, let me be. Let me go my own way. Don't trap me against the fence and start assaulting me, and then allow that to open the door for your husband to legally assault me. Granted, my yelling at you, I guess, is the reason that it allowed that. That's fine. I accept that. I accept my punishment for being loud, for screaming at you, for not finding a way to get away from you. I tried to get away from you. I couldn't jump the fence. But either way, so that's just an example of, do not show partiality. Do not pervert justice. Technically, by Washington state law, we should all have been arrested and let the courts all sort it out. But they allowed you to travel 3 hours back home and to leave the scene before anything else happened. So just based on an accusation, but it's okay. That's something that Clark County is going to have to work on in Washington state as a whole. Like, my case may or may not be relevant in that matter. The facts of all the matter. But I was abused, molested, in jail. I was denied all my civil rights. I was denied my lawyer. I was denied any paperwork concerning my case. I was denied my Bible. I was denied my service animal. I was denied toilet paper and forced to remain on the toilet for up to an hour it was. And told that I wasn't getting toilet paper because the female officer who almost seen my genitalia, to which I didn't want to get a charge for indecent exposure, didn't like me because I didn't let it happen. And honestly, if she would have just been like, hey, I'll give you an extra fucking lunch, what do you think? You want to drop the towel for me? And I would have been like, fuck yeah, dude. I'd drop the towel for you. Get this fucking pervert motherfucker out of my cell. I can't stand him. He keeps talking about fucking 16-year-old girls all the time, and he's like 80 years old. I mean, at least bump up a couple of years, bro. Make it 18. But, he couldn't do that. So I was glad when they finally got the Mexican in there with me. But here's the thing. They covered it up so much that they only show that I had one cellmate. Well, in the beginning, I had 10. And they're like, well, no, you didn't. You only had one. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I won't give anybody the raw originals because I don't trust you all. I don't trust you all. You've already made so much disappear. You've already told me that you could time travel 6 months before I was arrested and none of it happened and you closed the case. So I filed again against you. And this time I put a dollar amount on it because if you could time travel, I want to too. And then I sent copies of it to the senators. And I sent copies of it to the FBI. And I sent copies of it to the Columbian and to the New Yorker and to a bunch of newspapers. And yet nobody believes my story happened. And it's like, I know that my fellow cellmates may have been high or off their rocker or in a mental institute themselves now, but they all witnessed it. Even the guy from California. And he was trying to explain to me what to do, but they came and got him and took him out. So I never got the rest of the instruction on how I was supposed to be able to save myself. And then I ended up having to bail myself out so that I could make it through it mentally. And the bail bonds company's like, well, we get to keep all your money. And I'm like, you get to keep all my money after 2 years? Like, I did this all successfully. And come to find out 200 of it's missing and I can't prove it and get it back. So it's like, I'm out my bail money, which to my understanding I was supposed to get back. And you were only supposed to keep 10% of it to nothing. So that's okay, It wasn't freely and straightforwardly presented to me when that happened, but that's okay. And now, hold on a second here, but we're not done. It also says, do not accept a bribe. For a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land that Lucifer your God has given you. Now, that's very interesting. It's very interesting. You may not like the way I present it. You can insert the word Jesus. You can leave it as Lord God. You can say Yahweh. You can put whoever you want to in there that you aspire to follow. You can put Lilith in there. You can put Eve, the mother of all the living, not just the humans. So we know that Adam's Eve is not the Eve that she's named after, or in fact. So that's an interesting thing. But, you can put whatever you want to in there. You know what I'm saying? That still means the same thing. It says, appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes and every town the Lord God has given you. And they shall judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land your Lord God has given you. Now, here's the funny thing. This video alone may cost me my right to stay in freedom. And that would suck. That would suck if my townspeople decided to pull me on this. Because this is my diary. This is my way to speak to you so that you understand what I've been through. And through my eyes. I'm not trying to cast judgment on you. I love you all. You're my town. You're my county, my state. I've lived everywhere. I've been to all 50 states. I've been to Canada. And if I know and I'm told correctly, I've been through Mexico. So I've been to the North American continent, including Hawaii and Alaska. And this is my home. I love you all. But during my 2 years of homelessness, fighting for my innocence, fighting to tell you guys that I did not strangle this man, I would not cost myself such a thing without it being a life-threatening issue. But I seen the corruption, the practices, the corrective teachings that our city and our county are thrusting upon one another, and the children being stolen off our streets, and how we seem to be the center hub for it, and how it all seems to be connected. And honestly, a lot of it, I want to say, is because we've all put down the Bible, because we don't like a lot of what's in it. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of what's in it is you got to remember that too. You got to remember the corruption, because without remembering the past, we are doomed to repeat it. That is factual. We have to remember why we are evolving, why we are growing, why we are the melting pot, why God chose our country even though it's gone through some hellacious things. We'll lose our country. We will. We'll lose it to people. We'll lose it to the Chinese. Not that I have anything against Chinese. I don't. They're brothers and sisters too, But who rules your country is based on your morality basis. And God will change that if He sees fit. Your God, my God, all the gods. So I wanted to talk about another one that's in Exodus. And this one's a little bit different. This one is a little bit... This one needs tutelage to truly understand. And I don't know if I have the time or the capability to be able to tutelage this one. But this one is from Exodus. It says the laws of justice and mercy. Now, there is a lot of things that means. Justice and mercy. So let's go back to the fact that we now in Clark County, Vancouver, Washington, allow methamphetamines. Okay? We allow methamphetamines. We have no quality control over it. We don't. There is none. It's not governed. It's not given opportunity to be manufactured, procured, grown, isolated, bloomed, any fashion. But we're allowed to have it. We're allowed to do it. And that creates a certain set of circumstances that comes with it. It opens doors for certain types of people. And I'm not saying bad guys, and I'm not saying drug dealers, and I'm not saying gangs, and I'm not saying cartels or anything like that. But it opens the door for a very particular type of people that like to steal our kids and ship them off to other countries. And so, like, you know, that also opens the doors for other drugs that aren't quality controlled. And the other countries that know this, that may help supply this, because, you know, it's got to come from somewhere. They don't care if we're diluting and rotting our own people. They don't care. They don't care because they know that there's a dollar that Americans have that they'll give up anything at a certain point, at any place in their life, in anywhere. That they will give up something for the dollar. There's a value to it. And so, like, God and the Bible tells you that you need to treat your people with the utmost cleanest respect. So if you're going to have addicts or users of substances that alter the natural state of being, and that can even be milk or cheese, by the way. They actually affect the same areas and it means that are very similar to heroin, believe it or not. So cheese and milk can alter your perspective on things, if you will. That, you know, your people, your governing bodies should ensure that you have clean, quality product. Why don't we grow opium here? Why don't we grow poppies in our own opium? It doesn't make sense. Oh, well, because we're too pure, it'll cut, you know, you have to cut it and all this other stuff, and cocaine and everything else. But we have so many products in our country that are the same things. They're either byproducts or they are altered in certain ways that they're not necessarily cocaine and they're not necessarily heroin no more, or opium, or from poppies, or from this or that. And they're sold over the counter, they're sold in the pharmacy, they're put into your dollar bill, So some of these transactions exist and transpire on a certain level. So you have to be of a certain quality crowd to actually achieve this, right? Or to be a part of this, which lowers the means of all the rest of the people in your country. Like, they're not as worthy as you are. And that doesn't make sense. So in the laws of justice and mercy, it says, do not spread false reports. Do not help a wicked man by being a malicious witness. You know, and I don't want to dump on a lot of people, but there is a lot of governing bodies in Clark County, Vancouver, Washington, that do spread false reports, that do help a wicked man by being malicious witness, to help further things along. And it creates this very sick, very infestative nature amongst the rest of us, especially when it comes to drugs, and especially when it comes to, like, the whole Karenization of Clark County. Like, Clark County was never a pussified county. It wasn't. We were strong people. This was a settlement here that came across. This was where the Vancouver Barracks is. This is where, you know, a shipyard that came and logged, and lots of stuff has happened here in Clark County that's very phenomenal. And it didn't take pussies to achieve it. It never would have been achieved with pussies. Now, I'm saying this, and this is offensive, and I'm glad. Because I don't mean pussies as in the wet, delicious, delectable, tasty, you want to bury your face in pussy. I'm talking about the nasty, didn't clean it, smells like rotten tuna fucking infested gonorrhea pussy. So it's like, what kind of pussy do you want to be? You know? So let's go back to this. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. And do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. And I can go back to my own. You know, a lot of people in Clark County wanted me to go one way or the other. They were actually, like, heavily pushing me. And, like, my body, my soul, my being couldn't do what needed to be done because I would have had to crush people I love. I would have had to crush them in the middle of a courtroom beyond repair. And I couldn't do that. It hurt my soul. It made me sick. I didn't want to. I wanted us to go our own separate ways and to grow from what happened. And now I hope to never, ever see you again. And that saddens me. Because we are of the same blood. I hope to never see your offspring. I hope to never see your partner in life. And I hope that your God does you justice. I know my God will watch after me. As long as I do my justice. So yeah. I'm not sorry I yelled at you and screamed at you to go away. I'm not sorry I yelled at you and screamed at you. I don't understand your complaint. I am sorry though that you couldn't be righteous people and just walk away. I am sorry that you had to use such a corrupt, malicious maneuver and to maliciously be witness to things that didn't happen and in a manner that you say that are completely false and lies. And I'm very glad that the judge did not show favoritism to me. I'm very glad that she contemplated actually putting me in jail. And I'm very glad for the reasons that she did. I'm also very glad that it went the way that it did and that I can continue to work in my community and not be locked away in a petrified, putrid cesspool of a jail. I hope that I get a fraction of what I asked so I can put it back into the community to help heal a lot of bad that's been done on your all's behalf. I know that what you've done to me will never, ever go away. And I hope that none of you grow to an age where somebody has to give you toilet paper or physical assistance. Because I hope they might remind you of what you did to me. That's all I'll say. And I know that's not polite or right. But what you did to me was so wrong. What you told me was okay to do to a disabled person, physically and mentally, sickens me inside. And then you took my commissary and my phone away from me for 2 weeks because you didn't get to see my penis and my balls. I'll pray for you. I'll pray that whatever's bothering you changes in you and you know and learn how to be a standing up righteous person. You could have just asked. I would have just asked for a favor in return. But instead, you turned into a gremlin, a golem. My precious! It says, if you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to take it back to him. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you falling down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure you help him with it. To all those who wronged me, to all of those who made me hurt the way that I do, to feel unsafe in my own home, I'll remember to bring you back your ox and your donkey, your child, your dog, the love of your life. I'll put my life on the line for them, if ever need be. For you are my county, you are my city, and I love you. If you were, I'll be there, even though I hate you right now. For I would hate the day that you weren't there for me. So I'd rather set an example for you. Because otherwise, I don't care about you. And I already know that you don't care about me. That's okay. We have a lot of work to do. And it doesn't happen overnight. Do not deny justice to poor people in their lawsuits. I'm indignant. I'm poor as fuck. To my fellow citizens, you can look online and see my filings. This is for all of us. Any one of you and every one of you that can help me. Let's make the change. Have nothing to do with a false charge. And do not put an innocent or honest person to death. For I will not acquit the guilty. I should never have been put in that jail, that prison. I should never have been tortured. I should never have been forced into homelessness, to eat out of garbage cans, to sleep on garbage or in garbage, to be forced to sleep on the street, to have my food stamps, my federal benefits, and my state benefits all removed from me, to be red flagged for being able to get a job based on an accusation that wasn't even true. To have you guys lie about it and cover it up and sign off on it. I still have the original stapled to my folder, so I can look at it any time I want to feel that I'm worthless and be nothing to the people that I love. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twist the words of the righteous. Do not oppress an alien. You yourselves know how it feels to be aliens, because you were aliens in Egypt. Yeah, that still does apply even today. The term alien biblically means to be someone who does not live amongst you. So, for example, I live in a house that's turned into 4 townhomes, or if you will, more or less. And these are my citizens, my residents. Well, not my residents, but we reside among one another. So anybody that lives in a house next to us is technically an alien, biblically. Anybody who lives on the other side of the bridge in Portland, Oregon is an alien. You go from one side of our town to the other and you're alien. Because, well, we're broken up into districts and sectors. So we're all aliens living amongst each other. We bribe each other all the time. We manipulate each other all the time. We decree to one another what is right And we wonder why things are getting worse in Clark County. We wonder why so many more kids are getting stolen. We wonder why so many sheriffs and police are getting shot. Most of it comes from that corrupt jail, from that prison, and what they do down there, and how they practice, and the blind legal system that follows. And yes, I say blind, yes, I'm pissing off a lot of people. But most of our officers around here are so ready to gaslight anything and everything. It's unreal that a sheriff, quote unquote, accidentally shot a Vancouver police officer in his own home for mistaken identity after the officer had been stabbed multiple times and the assailant was getting away. That's how trigger happy our peacekeepers have become. They need help. We need help. We need to hold ourselves accountable. We really do, and it hurts, and it doesn't want to be done. But our lives would be so much better. And I'm not talking about our own personal lives. I'm not talking about our intimate relationships. Well, we should treat each other better there too. Huh. But what I'm talking about is all the governing bodies in the legal system. Like, I'm only discussing this legal stuff because we have to hold ourselves accountable to why we're cannibalizing our own selves. People will take what I'm saying and they'll try and apply it to all kinds of other aspects of their lives, but that's not what I'm applying it to, because as one learns, our lives are our lives. But when it comes to the laws of justice and governing people, we have to understand. And our judgments, we have to understand that we cannot live freely and happily amongst one another until we fix these things. I know a lot of people who have very interesting lives. And they tell me that when it comes to understanding biblically where things apply and how it's missing in our government, that I'm pretty spot on. I don't want it to be me, to be the one that everybody wants to shoot for being the messenger. I really don't. But I love my town. I love my county. I love my state. But more so, I love my county and I love my city. I'll be there if it's my time to be there. I won't go running around like Superman trying to help everyone. But I'm not going to deny the help when it's needed. I'm not going to treat the people that I'm so angry with. Yeah, they're going to know I'm angry. Yeah, they're going to hear about it all the fucking time until it's fixed. But if you're in need and I am there, I'm not going to deny it to you so much as I want to. I don't. But I would be there to help. I want to see our county heal. I want to see our city heal. I want to know that our children are safe. I want to be able to invite my kids and my grandbabies down and my godchildren to Vancouver and know that they can walk the streets safe. Joe Biden's got a plan to help clean up drugs. And you know, Vancouver is just uniquely set up that they could help make a change. American-made, clean drugs. Right out of our own home. And that sounds so horrific for me to say it. But would you rather be a part of the change than to just blindly allow the corruption, the rottenness, the destruction happen to our town and our county the way that it is? Do we want to become the next Portland? Or do we want to pave the new way? It's going to happen one way or the other. There's a lot of things that we can do legally to help one another. We can help teach each other how to clean the drugs up until clean drugs are available. They don't want to have our kids stolen. They don't want to do dirty drugs. But we're going to. We're going to do drugs. I say this as us as a whole, not that I'm using. I smoke cannabis, so what? I drink Red Bull, so what? I have different cross addictions these days. But we want your help. And we want to be so teeming with it that we don't feel the oppression of when are we going to get clean drugs again, or when are we going to get drugs again. If it was so teeming, most of us wouldn't be as spazzed out, as frazzled out, as skitched out, as psychotic as we are, because we wouldn't be using it as heavily when we get it. We wouldn't be going to extraordinary means to get it. And all in all, a lot of us wouldn't even use nearly as often. But the vast majority of us, we don't have access to any good quality. The vast majority of us don't know how to produce or procure our own. Most people don't even know how to grow weed. And I know that sounds like I'm eliciting people to go do and make drugs. I'm not. I'm just saying, if a lot of us were smart enough, we would probably try for quality control and to know how that drug made it to us. Who got harmed along the way? What nightmares are we responsible for? Whose life was taken so that we could go about our $20 day? We don't want those things hanging over our conscience, and they do. We want your help to be free too. I know Clean Up America, Drug-Free America is what we all wish for. Sadly, to tell you the truth, it's not going to happen. The only way to make it better is quality tutelage and acceptance. Allow us clean drugs so we're better people, cleaner mindsets. You change the quality, you get a vastly different result. You team with it. Yeah, there's going to be some craziness at first. There's going to be a lot of people dropping at first. Yes, this is fucking true. Our 911 calls are probably going to go through the roof because you got a lot of old addicts that have been dying for this day. But once we make it through that precipice, once we make it through that, and if we are giving some sort of help with that, not nearly as many people are going to get hurt or harmed along the way as this change is made. But then you would see a people flourishing again. And I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but what costs more money? Clean drugs provided by our own people, our own city, state, country, if you will? Or all the damage that comes from the system that's already in place? What if you had officers that instead of hunting down drug dealers, helped procure a clean drug system so they didn't lose their jobs? Because there's a lot of jobs to be lost in this war. What about all the players that are already in place that get the drugs where they are? What if they could work in a different system if they qualified? What if we could weed out the bad guys ourselves and bring in a new era together? Would you even be willing to go arm in arm into creating a better citizen group? Would you even be willing to see it through my eyes? Or are you willing to damage us more? Are you willing to hide the fact of what you did to me? Are you willing to sweep it under the rug? Are you willing to lie and say it's a simple clerical error when it is the most horrendous clerical error that could ever exist? Because your mind would have to have been so far up your ass, and the other people that signed off on it, that you might as well be high on heroin too. And I'm not talking about the good stuff. I'm talking about the shit that makes you fucking crazy. Because that paper passed through so many hands. So many people were carbon copied to it. And it's not just the month, it's the day and the year. All three. Severely wrong. And then you close the case. As if I just have to suffer silently through everything I've been through. I want you to know that you're wrong for doing what you did. You tried turning me into Hannibal Lecter. You tried making me into a monster. And I'm sorry, my God is protecting me. And my colors of red, white, and blue. Have a good night, everybody. It's time for my dinner, too.